Now let's talk about the deals the Trump administration has struck in recent days. Firstly, with Japan, a huge deal, the biggest struck yet until the EU deal. The European Union certainly talked a big game, but they seem to have capitulated in rather spectacular fashion.
You're known as a tough negotiator and deal maker. What is in front? And fair. And what is in front of us?
That's less important.
If we are successful, I think it would be the biggest deal each of us has ever struck. So I'm very much looking forward.
Ever struck by anybody.
And if this deal ends up being finalised, it gives the US pretty much all it wanted without the EU getting much in return. That is called a rebalance, according to the EU president.
I think the president is right. We have a 50 to 50% chance to strike a deal. And indeed, it is about rebalancing. So you can call it fairness, you can call it rebalancing. We have a surplus, the United States has a deficit, and we have to rebalance it. We have an excellent trade relation. It's a huge volume of trade that we have together.
Ursula von der Leyen, the EU president, Josh, talked a big game before this agreement, but it certainly looks like a capitulation. You look at the details that have been released, it is a massive win for the US.
You know, Rita, Donald Trump is the only man that I've ever seen who flies over to Scotland, the home of golf, to play some rounds of golf with his family, to usher in a new Trump-affiliated golf course redesign. And he comes home bagging one of the greatest, most historic trade deals in the history of modern commerce. I mean, this is truly historic stuff. And you know, whether it's really getting the better of Ursula von der Leyen and the European Union bureaucrats, whether it's the massive trade deal that the United States just reached with Japan about a week and a half ago. We had a deal with the Philippines in the interim that kind of flew under the radar. By the way, holding trade aside just for a second there, he also reached a ceasefire deal between Thailand and Cambodia. I mean, this is just like, it's just a rapid fire win after win after win. I mean, I have never experienced, frankly, this much winning from a president in my life. I don't know if there's always things where you can do better. There's Epstein, there's some judicial losses, fine. But this president is really on fire at this moment. He is hitting his first year swing and then some. And by the way, going back just briefly to the trade issue, Rita, all of the critics, all of the president's various neoliberal critics, both right, left, center, all in between there, you know, they said he's going to destroy the economy. Nothing like that has happened. Literally nothing like that has happened. The inflation rate has barely budged. Meanwhile, massive revenue is coming into the U.S. Treasury. And most importantly, he is fulfilling his America First campaign promise of trying to reshore manufacturing, supply chains there. It's all working according to plan. And frankly, I think the people who were saying that he would tank the economy, we would go immediately diving into a recession. I think it's probably not too soon to say that the president probably deserves an apology from some of these folks.
I don't think an apology will be forthcoming. They have got so many of these doomsday predictions wrong about his policies, and he just keeps rolling along. You mentioned the Japanese deal. That was enormous as well. And again, the details released, a massive win for the US.
Absolutely massive. You know, and to Donald Trump's credit, Rita, you know, he's been talking about Japan for a long time. In fact, before the rise of China, there was the rise of Japan. You know, Trump has these old videos on Oprah Winfrey's show from the 1980s talking about how Japan is not playing by the rules. They're dumping, meaning that they're subsidizing their prices for artificially cheap prices on the foreign stage. They're doing this and that. He's been obsessed with Japan for a very, very long time. Literally before Donald Trump was talking about China, you know, as he says it, before there was China, there was Japan, and Trump's been on this one for essentially his entire adult life. So I think that this is not just a massive win for the United States. There, it's not just a boost to the American auto industry as well. Talking about these 15% tariffs on Japanese automobiles there, but I think this deal in particular has some kind of personal gravitas for the president because his eye has been on the Japanese trade issue for literally 40 to 50 years.
Well, yeah, we played that clip from 40 years ago on Oprah talking about how Japan was just absolutely decimating certain industries in America by the advantageous deals they had in place.
Yes.
Now, whilst he was in Europe, he also lectured the EU about its illegal immigration crisis.
Immigration, Europe has a tremendous problem, and we do too, but we've sealed our borders. We have nobody coming in, and we have hundreds of thousands of people being taken out and the bad ones first. And I think we're doing a very good job of that. But we had, I mean, it literally registered 0 people last month. You probably saw that.
Yes, you probably saw that, Ursula. The trade deals, of course, are enormously important. The defence deal is important. But there are also cultural, social issues, and it's something that the Vice President has spoken about in Europe, the illegal immigration crisis, the way the face of Europe is being changed, the crackdown on free speech, all sorts of cultural issues, values issues that were also at the forefront of the Trump administration's approach to Europe, Josh. This is something that is bigger than just trade.
Totally. I mean, I think to Donald Trump's visit to The Hague, the Netherlands, for this NATO summit, maybe about a month ago, give or take. And it was at this summit that the European NATO countries announced collectively, if memory serves, that they would agree to commit to spending at least 2 to 3% of GDP on defense spending. But many of them said that they would try to go all the way up to 5% there, which is kind of the highest tier that the NATO charter calls for there. This is a long sought after foreign policy goal when it comes to trying to tighten and to ultimately better and improve U.S.-European relations there. So whether it's trade, whether it's foreign policy, indeed, whether it is these cultural issues, trying to tell the Europeans to get control of their own porous borders, as J.D. Vance did at the Munich Security Conference back in February. Stop censoring dissident speech. Frankly, I'm not sure that the Brits have listened particularly well, at least yet, under Keir Starmer there at 10 Downing Street. They've got a ways to go when it comes to that one there. But all of this is ultimately oriented, Rita, towards not just trying to diminish Europe, trying to fortify Europe. What the American goal on Europe is to fortify and strengthen Europe, to try to make Europe a stronger place, a prouder place, a civilization that once again tries to perpetuate its own values from one generation to the next, and then from a national security perspective can ward off the Russian bear in Moscow. All of that in turn will allow the United States to focus on its own number one enemy, the Chinese Communist Party.
It wants to make Europe also self-sufficient, and I think that was the entire goal that is now being achieved with NATO, with increasing defence spending. The media presented it as an attack against NATO, undermining NATO, when it was very much the opposite of that. Josh Hammer, we always enjoy your insights. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you, Rita, very much.